Alright, so it says here you used to be a professional piercer. Yes, that's correct. Like ears, eyebrow, lip type of thing? Yeah, you could say that. My main clientele were dragons, though. Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, it's time for an absolute classic! Here on this channel, we love making builds for Monster Hunter, and while the first few sets we release in a new Monster Hunter game or expansion are always just top-tier, high-damage builds, because, come on, everyone wants to know how to shred a monster on their own main weapon, but our real home, our real passion, is to take things that don't belong as the main focus of a build, things that when the devs created them, they just thought they were a cool addition, and we build everything around it, make it as strong as possible, make it fun, and as a result, sometimes we can create entirely new playstyles from the 14 weapons that already exist. This one dates back as far as base Monster Hunter World, when we first made a build around an attack that back then was new for the bow, Dragon Piercer. I love this ability. It looks awesome to launch, like the animation itself. It is awesome to listen to the sound of it just ticking through a monster like fireworks, and it's just fun. And more than anything, it completely flips the concept of bow gameplay on its head. Normally when you're playing bow, you're dashing around the place firing dozens of arrows back to back non-stop, but this build asks the question, what if bow played a bit more like Great Sword? One big meaty arrow shot, then avoiding the monster for a bit, then one big meaty arrow shot. That, my friends, is the concept of the Dragon Piercer build. It's worth noting at this point that while the numbers this build can reach are simply higher than anything Dragon Piercer builds have reached in the past, especially due to a new switch skill that bow got in Sunbreak, it is a little bit harder to use. Many people have noticed this, but monsters in Master Rank just seem faster than they used to be. The recovery time between their attacks is shorter, and they just have way more combo type moves in their moveset, and as such, this move with its incredibly long windup is less safe than it used to be. The main deal with this build, the main way to play it, is to dodge a monster's attack and immediately start firing the Dragon Piercer so it goes off before the monster does its next attack. But with the new monster speed in Sunbreak, this is, well, it's just straight up harder, honestly, especially against later game creatures. As a result, I can't label this as the strongest bow build around, but it is still one of the best experiences that I've ever had with a bow. And that's just because I love Dragon Piercer. I love how unique this playstyle is, and in Sunbreak it is still just as fun once you adjust to the changes.
Thoroughly enjoyable.
With that out of the way, let's talk about exactly what makes this thing tick, and for the incredible amount of damage it's capable of reaching with each tick. First up, even before touching skills or armor, let's talk about your buddies. In general, this build will excel in multiplayer over solo, as with players, the monster is less likely to target you when there's other people to choose from, and anytime the monster targets someone that isn't you, is just a free moment for you to launch a Dragon Piercer down the weakest line of body parts on the monster. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't work solo by any means, thanks to changes made in Rise, and even some added in Sunbreak. And that's why all of my footage today will be in solo hunts. The main reason that this works the way that it does is Palamutes. Specifically, you want to have two Palamutes with you when using Dragon Piercer, and you want them to be using Palamute Silkbinder, which is a new addition in Sunbreak, occasionally tying a monster down to the ground and making them unable to move for a short duration, as well as the Diversion Scroll. This item, when activated, makes the monster focus its attacks solely on the Palamute for a while, which works just like I mentioned multiplayer hunts do, and allows you to just launch off Dragon Piercer from a safe distance with a well-aimed lineup. It's one of the biggest advantages of this playstyle. It's just the distance that you can fire it from while still being in critical distance for Dragon Piercer is extremely far out. Now, let's talk about these switch skills that we use. This has some personal preference depending on how you're playing, so keep in mind that your personal experience won't necessarily match the footage that I show if you choose other options. This is the switch skill loadout that I'm using though, and generally speaking, the last two are set in stone. Focus Shot is a stamina reset and evade, which makes it extremely useful, and Herculean Draw is simply an overall damage increase buff for a short period after using it. Stake Thrust in the third slot is a new switch skill in Sunbreak, and, well, it actually works incredibly well with Dragon Piercer. When you shoot a Dragon Piercer into a part that has a stake in it, it will give you a secondary damage pop for every tick that goes through that part for half of the damage of the original hit. If Dragon Piercer hits a body part for 400 per tick and 3 ticks through that body part, then you'll get 3 extra pops of 200 damage if you hit it through the stake, which is an incredible damage gain. endgame. The second slot is mostly just whatever. We don't use power shot in this build, it's just not the point of it. And then the first slot is the main one of contention. Charging sidestep raises your charge level every time that you dodge while aiming the bow, and as a result this lets you reach maximum charge level way faster than just holding the charge button down or even firing off multiple shots to reach that. And while we don't want to fire off multiple shots to charge anyways, as that would eat up our power coatings way faster, which we want to save for the dragon piercers themselves. The alternate option here though is dodge bolt. This dodge is much shorter distance, which makes it harder to position and set up your dragon piercers. However, it is also a counter in that if you successfully use dodge bolt's iframes to negate an attack, it will immediately jump your bow charge up multiple levels, and more importantly for this specific build, it also removes half the startup animation of dragon piercer. This is a totally viable choice to use for a dragon piercer build and very good against some monsters, but sometimes when you dodge bolt through an attack, the monster will end up behind you. A lot of monsters have forward momentum when they're attacking you, and you'll just be at an impossible angle to effectively use dragon piercer from as a result. With that said, the switch skill is both based on personal choice and the specific target you're against. If you know you're going against an enemy that uses tons of ranged projectiles, then dodge bolt can be an incredible choice, and personally I swap back and forth between them quite often.
Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
Now let's talk about the weapon. There were two main choices for this. Shot type doesn't make a difference at all because Dragon Piercer just is its own thing, and charge level can easily be made up for. So the question becomes, what is the bow with the highest raw available? And there are two choices for this. Garangolm bow has 410 raw and a bunch of slots on it, but unfortunately it doesn't have access to power coating, just close range coating. This is a massive damage decrease in the actual functional build compared to a power coating bow, and so we come to the other choice, Chameleos bow at 370 raw, with not only power coating, but excellent status selections including paralysis, which just lets you line up a perfect dragon piercer while it's happening, and so you should be using this every hunt. As a result, the prime bow for dragon piercing winds up being Chameleos. Then let's get into the armor itself, which for this one is relatively simple, being almost an entire set from one monster, though it is the final boss, so as usual if you're adverse to equipment spoilers and haven't reached that point in the game yet, this is your chance to turn away. If not, here is the armor. 4 pieces of Geismagorm armor with the Rathalos waist. The talisman used is anything that has 3 skills of value. Quite specifically for this, something like 2 attack and a 2 slot is perfect, or 3 attack and no slots, which is closer to the talisman that I have, which is 3 attack and a 1 slot. The 1 slot is also ideal if you can manage to get a talisman with that as well. The decorations we pop in here are 1 mighty bow jewel. This is the most important thing here. For the cost of a 4 slot, this unlocks the final charge level on the bow. The charge multiplier for a level 3 bow shot is about 1.5, and a level 4 charge multiplier is around 1.7, so that's a massive damage increase. And so obviously we do want to achieve that. We also have 2 true shot decorations for both ranks of special ammo boost. Dragon Piercer counts as special ammo and thus is given a 20% damage boost from having the skill maxed out. You want however many attack jewels, max out the attack boost skill for your specific set, which is 2 with my talisman, 1 tenderizer decoration to finish off weakness exploit, and 2 crit boost jewels to finish off crit boost. This skill has a bit less use with this build than most, as Dragon Piercer is initially aimed at a weak spot, yes, but as it travels through the monster, it will progress to less weak spots where weakness exploit won't take effect. Regardless, it is a great skill to have for how little it actually costs, because the majority of your damage per shot will come from hitting the weak points at the start of it anyways. In your 1 slots, I recommend the quick load jewels, especially if you can fit a second one in your talisman, as it just makes coating on your bow load automatically rather than having to do an animation to switch them. And after this, you'll have 2 slots empty, a 3 slot, and a 4 slot. If you want to just go pure damage, then just put 2 expert jewels in these for 10% general affinity. But personally, I find 1 rank of Evade Extender extremely useful with this playstyle, and given you want to keep Herculean Draw active as much as possible, at least 1 rank of Wirebug Whisperer will allow you to hold 3 Wirebugs longer, and that makes it excellent as well. On top of that, because one of the slots is a 4 slot, you can actually use the Wirebug Plus jewel to get the 2nd rank for free as a bonus. What I'm using in the footage includes 1 rank of Evade Extender and 2 ranks of Wirebug Whisperer, but I thought I'd mention the 2 Crit Eye version as well for people who just want to be as offensively strong as possible. With that in mind, let's go over the full list of skills the way that I have it laid out. For 7 attack boost, 5 resentment, 3 critical boost, 3 weakness exploit, 3 windproof, 3 dereliction, which you want to keep on blue scroll for the attack bonus, and as well, I always recommend anytime you use a build with dereliction, you use the gourmet fish item, as this provides health regen almost equal to the health drain, but not so much that it overpowers it, so you still get good use out of resentment. 2 special ammo boost, 2 reload speed, bow charge plus, and 1 rank of chain crit. The chain crit also works works nicely with Dragon Piercer as each tick of damage counts towards its bonus, so the +5 attack will be active for everything except for the very first tick of damage, and by the end of the Dragon Piercer the whole bonus will be active too. The math for this set, for anyone wanting to know, well, a pre-warning here that bow numbers get a little nutty in the effective raw itself, but the motion values of the attacks themselves tend to even it back out towards the direction of other weapons. So, 370 on the weapon itself, +10 for attack boost, +25 resentment, which is always active thanks to the health drain from dereliction, +35 from 3 ranks of dereliction when you've got all 3 curios around you, and +5 from chain crit, which is 445. Start factoring multipliers times 1.1 for attack boost, times 1.2 for special ammo boost, times 1.5 from power coating on this bow, and then 50% affinity with full crit boost is an average of 1.2 multiplier to our damage in general for a final total of 1057.3.
4 digits of friends!
Yeah, I warned you, bow numbers were sorta silly. Anyways, in actual combat terms, this winds up being over 400 per tick on properly weak spots on a monster. Combined with stake thrust and a good strong choice of when to fire off your Dragon Piercers as opposed to when you bide your time and reposition, it'll make this quite strong. Not quite on the upper echelon of builds by any means, but definitely good enough to be considered a viable playstyle if you know what you're doing with it. And what more can you ask from something so fun and different from how the weapon was intended to be played? All in all, I love this playstyle. It's definitely gotten more challenging in Sunbreak, but that doesn't make it less enjoyable. If anything, it just makes it more satisfying when you get those perfect piercing moments that no other playstyle can quite accomplish. I hope you've all enjoyed this and look forward to more funky playstyles made good from us. Let us know if there are any strange skills or attacks that you'd like us to focus on, like we focused this, to make a full-on build around us. I love doing that kind of thing. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.